What's up, everybody? I am live with Josh Newton, the legend, an absolute legend. Dude, good to see you.
Cool. Nice to meet everyone. Looking forward to this.
How you been?
Yeah, good man. Yeah, I'm like so stoked just to run through the story. I've actually had a lot of like requests just to run through like how I got here and what the process has been so far. Actually, everything like non-technical, so which is great because I can't talk to that much anyways. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
looking
love
forward.
it. Yeah, I for some context here, I saw Josh on the internet and he had just launched his app and it was a beautifully designed subscription tracking app called Orbit and I was immediately just drawn to it. I immediately like scroll stopped it. I was like, what is this? Auto download, one time fee. I think it was like $9.99. Is like that's
That's
how
right.
much it is. Yeah, so one
Yeah,
time
yeah.
fee, easy buy from an indie creator, and I just was like, I got to know more about this story. What's the background? And the launch week went really well. Like you see a bunch of people launching these apps, but you don't see many people with smallish audiences. No disrespect, you
No,
don't have
no,
like a
of course.
massive audience or a huge email list, but you generated like 3,000 emails, a wait list, and a relatively small Twitter following, but that drove like 10,000 downloads and $6,000 in launch week. So you're just a normal dude with a ton of skills, but no real like distribution advantage, but you were able to do distribution on week one. So what we're going to do today is hear the story about what Josh did, how he created it, the background, how he came up with the idea, how it went, how he grew it, how he launched it, and then we're going to jam on growth ideas and also take any Q&A. So I'm really pumped about this. I think a lot of people are going to be very excited to hear the story just behind the scenes. We see an increasing appetite in people that are just they want to know what happened behind the scenes. They want to
Mm.
know what Josh was thinking in the room for 2 years while he was thinking about creating this app and how he got to where he is. So, I think people are just craving like that story. So I'm pumped to
Awesome.
have you here and thank you for the time, man.
Yeah, no, dude, I couldn't have done that intro any better than you, so appreciate that. Um, well, cool. Yeah, we can jump right into it. Do you want me to just like start sharing?
Yeah, let's just share,
Sweet.
and we'll just jam on it. If you guys have
Awesome.
any questions in the chat, feel free to hit us up, as we go. We might stop the presentation, we might not, but we'll catch the vibe. So,
Cool. All right. You can see that, okay?
yep.
Sweet. Well, hey everyone. Yeah, I'm super pumped to run through this story today, and yeah, I would love to answer any questions you have or anything that you like is burning on your mind. But yeah, today we're going to kind of talk about exactly what Jordan introed, and I'm going to talk about how you can build products by following your curiosity, and hopefully to a result similar to mine. So, uh, cool. A little bit about me. So I'm Josh. As Jordan mentioned, I think the special thing about this story is like I really don't have a huge following. You know, like I've been in design as a designer for a long time. It's been around 15 years now, which is really awesome. And I've been in all kinds of like startups from seed, Series A, all the way to Series D. And I've worked in like a bunch of different sectors, which I really love. It's given me like a lot of perspective on different types of businesses. And I think ultimately, like just leaning on your experience and what you find interesting is one of the superpowers to create incredible things. And that's what we're going to be running through today. So just as like an overview, this is just a screenshot, but this is the app Orbit, which I launched on the 16th of January. And this is just a screenshot from week one. So as Jordan covered, the metrics were really good. And we're going to dive in today exactly where the story started, what I did at each step. And I've also linked posts as much as I can. So you can go ahead and like check those out and, also kind of see exactly what that looked like at the right time. So yeah, it's literally been just over a month, and I'm super pumped with how things have gone so far. So cool. Like we said, we're going to go behind the scenes today, the journey to creating and launching Orbit, like my take on why curiosity creates the best ideas, and then how you can follow yours and build great products. So back to the beginning, where did Orbit begin? I actually had the idea for Orbit back in November 2023. I was feeling a little burnt out from my job at the time. I think I was just working on like the wrong things for too long. So I thought I'd give myself a little sabbatical, quit for a few months, which I did in August 2023. And then over that time, I did a bit of traveling, went to Japan, which was incredible. And then I didn't have the idea there, but it also does help to being somewhere cool. And then when I came home, I actually had this idea for Orbit in November, and I didn't act on it straight away. I started creating prototypes just because that was interesting, and I just wanted to follow my curiosity. I never had an idea to like found this product or create a real business from it. I was just listening to kind of like that childlike, interest in like where this could go. And I think just for like some context, like I think like many people here, you've probably built things or like are trying to build things, or you've been doing it for a long time and maybe not had the success you wished. This actually doesn't have all the things I've worked on in the past because I keep forgetting about them. But I've basically I've always been like curious and built a lot of different things. And I think it's really special that Orbit has done the best so far. Yeah, did I hear a question, Jordan?
This is cool. This is cool to see. You got to tweet this, by the way. Just be like, it takes a graveyard of failures to get even minor success.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And if you don't like categorize this, like I don't even have a table like this. But like, you've taken some shots here. Like, especially in the iOS game, both building games, but also building iOS apps.
Yeah, no, I mean, all of this has literally just been me kind of creating what I'm interested in. I could dive into like all of these, but yeah. I think like the one thing I would say from this is that, and I think this is like cliche and classic, but I really just didn't have any distribution with any of them apart from like App Store optimization. And the story for me here is that I just did not bring people on a journey with me and what I was creating. And I think a lot of that is why so much of this failed, which is what I'm going to talk more about with the process with Orbit here. But I would say that's the TLDR to like the failures that I've had before me. And kind of getting back to that, like I was, back in August, burnt out, took a few months off. I was really just itching to build again because it had been a while. Like the last project I had going back to this table was, well, I started a newsletter actually in that sabbatical. So I've kind of started like two things. I started Orbit, but I hadn't built anything since like the beginning of the pandemic. And it'd been a long time. And, I was really just itching to kind of like build another project, and never felt like you'd seen in that table this like sense of success that I was really craving and wanted to just create something I was proud of. So I started wondering. And I think this is like one of the underlying pieces of following your curiosity is just being bored, like kind of thinking about ideas in times where you're not trying to force them. And I really stuck to, this was all unintentional, by the way. I'm kind of looking back and this makes sense, but I really wanted to stick to things I was interested in. Like I've always loved iOS apps. I became infatuated with the iPhone back when it launched. And as you can see from all my previous projects, I've just always loved them. And I also love things that are unique, but more or less do one thing well. I once built a game where all you could do was just tap. And that was like the only interaction because I was inspired by Flappy Bird. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. I think it was great, and it's just, really following the things that like drive your curiosity, because there's never a business plan where you're like, I'm going to make a business where, you can only do one tap and that's it, right? You just have to kind of see where these things go.
Yeah, I think this is really cool to just zoom in on real quick is, you didn't do this in the planning, but I think you really, you should have, like have these parameters. Like if we're talking to the audience, if anyone's listening to this and thinking about building their thing, like look at your stuff in reverse. What have you done in the past? And build parameters that are very tight like this.
Yeah.
Because if you aren't tight on these parameters, you'll always be wandering in like your curiosity and you'll never actually build anything. So yes, build with your curiosity, but also build an iOS app that's unique and does one thing really well, and then follow your curiosity in that little like zone or that little sandbox that you created.
You said it so well, dude. I'll give you one like real example of why this is so true. I have one of those little Ricoh cameras that has like a fixed focal length, and I took it to dinner last night, and my wife was like, "Oh, you can't like zoom." So she was like moving around. She wanted to like take a photo, and she was like moving around, physically trying to take a photo. And it like occurred to me, this camera with a fixed focal length where you can't zoom around or anything, that gives you more creativity because it's stopping you from being able to like zoom in and out, which actually you would think is more flexible, but you have way more creativity that way, right?
Totally. And I think we're seeing this more and more right now with all of these tools is like the abundance of options
Mm,
actually just leaves people in analysis paralysis all
100%.
all the time. So like it literally every stage of the way, it's like, oh, well, how should I frame that shot of the dish? You know, should I zoom? Should I go low? It's like, no, you gotta do it one way. You
Mm,
got these are the tools that you selected, and it takes like disciplined, right? Or designing it in to your workflow.
100%. 100%.
Cool. All right, let's keep going. This is dope.
Yeah. So continuing the story, to answer one of the questions in the chat, which is, am I a builder or a developer? I'm like an old school designer that learned HTML and CSS back in the day, and then tried to do more than that and failed most of the time because I was like super interested in design. I made my earlier apps in Objective-C and like the early days of Swift, but again, I hadn't built anything in years, and I was like really rusty on Swift and didn't know it so well. So to continue that creative flair and to like continue following my curiosity with this idea for Orbit I had, I found someone on, I've forgotten the guy's name, sorry to the dude, but he built this tool called Trace. And it was a prompt tool that made Swift UI Xcode projects from your prompts. And I haven't got a screenshot of it because the tool's like being put down now, but this was the first stage where I used this tool to create this prototype back in November 2023. And I've linked the tweet, but it's wild in terms of this, what it looks like, because it's so crazy and it's so far away from what we have today. Like obviously structurally it's similar, but you've got all these like moons around the orbit going like actually 3D around the sun compared to today's design, which is a lot more like flat and minimal. But it's crazy. And like this is so early compared to when I actually started like building it for real. And like you look at what I'm saying here, it's like I'm just following my curiosity. I was like tinkering. I wasn't trying to like found a business. So again, I just think like these are the best ways that you can build something which is true to yourself, and you'll have a lot more energy and passion for like down the line.
Yeah, you can see the foundation here too, right? Like of the
Exactly.
app, like when you download it and see the design, this is like, yeah, it's not there, but it did become like your foundation or North Star of like, I like that thing and I can build on top of that thing.
Exactly. And this is the first moment I started sharing anything with anyone. And on this tweet, I had ideas. I had people replying like, "Oh, this is cool. Could it do this?" And that is the beginning of that creative journey, you know. And that's why I would like recommend everyone do like create a simple prototype, get it out there, start discussing it without being too deep on the product. And here's like some
Yeah.
iterations. Yeah.
Is there a good, well, are we going to go into tools? I'm sure we'll go into like all the tools
Yeah.
that we used. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah, for
we'll
sure.
get to
So
the
like,
tool. We'll get to tool stack.
I mean, interestingly, as a designer, like I hadn't touched Figma yet. This was all prompting my ideas just so that I could start from a fresh sheet of paper. Like, what could this look like? I think like at this moment, I started mocking things up in Figma to try and refine it. But from this like very, very first version, I hadn't touched any design tools yet.
So just Trace, basically.
Yeah, at this point,
which is
just
now
Trace.
defunct. Okay.
Yeah, but it's fine. We've got like
Trace.
RIP Trace, but we've got like 16 trillion options now, which is even better, right? Like they didn't exist back then. Like just what, November 2023? They didn't exist.
I mean, ChatGPT like had just come out like 6 months before or something.
That's insane, man.
Or maybe like a
That's
year
crazy.
before. Maybe 2022.
Yeah. It's wild. It's absolutely wild.
Dope.
And then within like a month, I was super into this, like working. And by the way, this is all on the side of, actually, no, sorry. In November, I'm in my sabbatical, but we'll get very quickly into like me doing a full-time job and getting a new job and not having much time for this. So more interesting things are coming. But yeah, here's my rough proposal. It's starting to look a little bit more like today. And this is also me on Figma, like refining the design a bit and like trying to make it work in Trace. I haven't even touched like Xcode or anything yet. And actually, no, sorry, this is a lie. I did start using Xcode. That's where I started to refine like the colors and stuff, because you can't really do that with Trace. But again, it's all still really, really early days. Like this is all hard coded. It's just to try and get like the orbit diagram working. And I was really fixated on this. Like I wasn't thinking about the functionality or anything. I just wanted to see if I could get kind of like an early days vibe, you know, like an actual vibe coder from November 23. I wanted to see if I could get that right.
What's your big
yeah.
how big is your following during this? Like what's the reception that you're getting?
Yeah, dude. In fact, if I click this, sweet, it's still hooked up. I had like 5 likes, and back then I had like 1,500 followers. But to be honest, they weren't like super engaged, you know. Like here you can see like this is shaping up nicely. It had a few good comments, but this was like enough for me to go, okay, cool, I'm going to continue with this. Because at that point, there was nothing, there was no like serious expectation from myself. I just wanted to, if you see, like, yeah, get this right.
Yeah, and there's something beautiful about you're doing this for the art too.
Yeah.
You know, like it is like your app. It is like your design. So like, I mean, if you're not going to put the craft into it, sharing in public like this, if you have a really good idea, you might start to get ripped off. Like if it goes really well, there'll probably be 100 competitors in an hour. But if you're doing something like this that you're very passionate about, following your curiosity and putting the craft into it of like, I just want to design the most beautiful subscription app of all time, like Tracker, you've created like a position of one, basically, or like a category of one. Like there's you know, everyone's like, I'm going to steal your idea, or like, I don't want people to steal my idea. There's so many options, going back to like everyone can't decide what they want to do. There's so little opportunity for someone that's going to be as passionate about your idea, the way that you want to do it, the way that you want to design it, that it's just
100%.
worth sharing. So it's like now you're like on this mission and like you care the most about it. I don't want to build a competitor. I just want to pay you $9 to use it, right? So anyway,
dude,
I
you
think
said
about
that so
that a lot.
perfectly. Yeah. I think craft is like non-negotiable these days, but I think you hit the nail on the head that actually it's the care which people are interested in. And I was just reading the Business of One. Is that what it's called? The book? Sorry, that's so bad. I can't remember anyone's name today.
Yeah.
Company of One, sorry. Yeah, by Paul Jarvis. And he was talking exactly about this. Like you should be building these things like with an obvious care that your customers can see it and actually want to like root for you and buy from you, because people want that these days, right? I think you nailed it. Like people want to buy things from people they can see have put an insane amount of care on. It's not just like another corporate product.
Yeah, dude, immediately when I saw this, I was like, I want to hang out with this guy. I didn't know
That's
you.
so nice.
You know, like I didn't know, like it's just like you cared a lot about this, and these things just don't pop up. So I was like,
Yeah.
I gotta know the story. So anyway,
No, it's
hopefully
cool,
that's
man.
helpful for everybody.
Yeah, I resonate with it so well. You summarized it perfectly. Now, what happened next? So I had my prototype and I was pretty happy with it. And I started kind of changing the lens from being that like artistic side that Jordan said to thinking, okay, like, does this have legs? Like, is there an opportunity for this? And I followed advice that I'd read and I agree with from like a user research point of view in terms of like what I've done with my, like, you know, with companies and stuff. I started talking to people about the problem, and I didn't go ahead and just start like steamroll building the product, because really I didn't know much about this space. I didn't know like what people like to do. I just wanted to start talking about it. And I really recommend this. I really recommend this process. Like create a very basic prototype, use it as a prompt for conversation, and start to learn about like, is there an opportunity here? Is there something that you can feel personally comfortable and confident in that you can kind of take to the next step, you know, that very small next step. And what happened is I organically very quickly found this thread. It says 1 year ago because I screenshotted it, but I think someone had literally just posted this like within like a month. And it was just lucky that I had made my prototype and I'd seen this and I was like, oh, damn, this is crazy. This is literally what people are talking about. And I was thinking about this. So I shared a link to I just shared like literally a link to my tweet, nothing else, and said like, hey, I'm thinking of building this. And then within this like Reddit thread, which I've provided a link to, you can see me like conversing with other people, just talking about the problem and hearing their ideas. And it could have been done in a better way, but I was just being super lean and again, had no huge plans to make a business. I was just kind of seeing where this would go.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Just like chipping away. It's just like
Yeah,
you Googled the thing, you saw a thing, you interacted with the people, you got feedback, and now you moved on. It's just
yeah.
those little pieces of the journey that's just like the like little validation points to keep
Mm,
going. Because if you don't interact with people while you're doing it, you probably wouldn't have worked on this for over a year. Or like the
100%.
idea, right? Where it's just like you need the little validation points as you go to like trick your brain into being like this could be something. Let's get it to the next step. And it's like
Mm,
you're not even doing work here, right? Like replying to this is a tweet you already tweeted. you know
yeah,
it's
just
like
vibes.
just vibes. Like it literally is just like, hey, here it is. If you want it, it's not like this big long dissertation took you 2 seconds and got like user feedback asynchronous. So
Mm,
I think that's a huge hack. Because a lot of people over engineer this stuff. Like I've got a huge
mm.
spreadsheet of all of these Reddit posts, and I've analyzed with Claude the sentiment, and here's the problem, and here's it's like, dude, vibe creation,
Yeah.
vibe marketing, vibe coding, vibe creating.
Yeah, dude. My take on the whole vibe thing is it's so true in its value, but all it is you following your intuition. And your intuition is based on experience. And as long as you've had, at least one job where you're kind of like semi happy with the work you've done it with great people, or like you've done your own learning and you've built things, like follow that experience and use your intuition that you've created and earned on the back of that experience to follow your curiosity. I think that's really like the formula, and that's all I did. I didn't like I'll always say, I didn't pre-plan this. I just followed my intuition, and I think it's one of my best strengths in this process, and I'm going to continue to do it like in the future.
Of course.
And yeah, I think that's like the main lesson.
And you found this post by just like Googling or searching on Reddit, like about a tracking subscription app.
Yeah, I think I typed in like subscription or track subscription. I was just thinking of the words that
Yeah.
I could use to describe the idea, and like I just wanted to see who was talking about it, what were they saying, just to like you said, join the conversation. And then this was the very first point I spoke about Orbit at all. No, apart from obviously the tweets.
Right. Sweet. Love it.
And I had some pre-validation, some excitement, and then I stopped, which is, a bit crazy because I started a new job. I started a new job at GatherTown, which is this like video calls platform. Some people might remember it from the pandemic. And I also struggled to learn Swift again. So these two things came at this like crossroad where I was really excited about this new job. And I just really struggled to know how to move forward with Orbit. There was nothing apart from Trace. I was thinking, man, I'm going to have to go back and just like relearn Swift, start again. It's going to take like ages. And the excitement just dropped. And yeah, it was really hard to like work on it. But over time, things changed. And I started to make some progress. And I want to run through that now, but I just realized the slide is back to front, so forgive me for that. This slide is meant to be forward. Things changed. And you can see here that I started to focus on my new job, but something magical happened in June when Claude Artifacts came out. And I don't know if like how much people here used this pre like Cursor and all these other tools, but this was an insane turning point for me in the process. Like you can see I have 0 GitHub commits, like no progress on Orbit. And we're looking at May, June time, 2024. I had the idea in November 2023. I haven't acted on it at all. But then I saw Claude came out and I was like, let me give this a go. Let me pick up this old idea, see where I can take it. And you can see immediately, I'm like, oh man, okay, I can start like doing commits. I'm starting to see progress. And I spent like nearly 2 months just like making slow progress. But to me, it felt like insane. It felt like insane, rapid progress from what was nothing before. And then you can see when I discovered Cursor, this will always blow my mind. Look at the rapid progress where I've gone from something that felt like light speed to something that just feels like hyperspeed. I was committing on GitHub like almost daily. And this was really the massive turning point for Orbit. Like me discovering Cursor, knowing how to use it, knowing how to like build my idea and then launch it in January. Yeah, this screenshot blows my mind every time I see it. And I'm just like so thankful I just took the tools at the time and started, trying them out. That was all I did. Again, just following my curiosity.
Totally. I mean, it's a great through line. You love to see a GitHub commit chart from a designer. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a time. What a time to be alive is when we got the GitHub chart from a designer. I think just this is so common in other stories that I hear and see is you can look at these moments as inflection points and friction points. So like you had the new job plus not knowing Swift was a friction that like halted your progress, right? But then Claude are these inflection moments where you could have made a decision to stay in friction or like accelerate to momentum. And a couple inflection points in a row, and now you have like massive momentum. And I think that this chart like shows friction to like momentum.
That's great, man. You said it so well. Yeah. And it's like, I think it's something for me here is just like try and just utilize all the opportunities you see. Like this is such an insane time. Like you said, seeing a designer, I had no belief I could ever screenshot a GitHub commit chart like this for me. I never thought that was an opportunity for me. And now look at this, it's crazy. And I felt that when Claude Artifacts came out, I felt like a superstar. I was like, man, I'm moving at light speed. And I was only doing like, I mean, if you look at it, commits kind of
well in that moment, like look at the left. It's dark.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So, like
no vibes.
No vibes. No indications of vibes, at least.
Yeah,
might have been vibes.
Not even a concept of a vibe. But man, yeah, I felt like I was moving at light speed, and then just man, when Cursor came out, it changed my life. It changed the whole product. I don't think Orbit would be here today without going through this process, as you can see here.
Cool. Let's keep going.
And yeah, messed up these slides around, but man, this was like a turning point. Back in June with Artifacts, like I decided to kind of just start from scratch and try and get the basics right. So I wanted to see like, okay, can I get this like database going? Can I get all the, like variables I want to see, like the price and, like the monthly dates and stuff. So I basically just like start from scratch, and I wanted to get like notifications and like all these fundamentals things working, which was really, really cool. And I started to have like a lot more confidence that I could like really build this product when they come around. So yeah, crazy times. But obviously, as a designer, not knowing what the hell he's doing and just vibe coding his way around the place, you're going to see some problems. And like, man, was it stressful? But everyone, I love all these tweets that are coming around like right now, like from Cursor, where it's saying like, I see the issue now. That like straight up drives like chills down my back, because yeah, it's painful. But something I saw last year is you just need to like get through these errors and know that you will get through them. If you're someone like me, which really had no idea what they were doing, and it'll work out. Like you just have to be persistent. I think that's also, if anyone listens to the Founders podcast, like one of my favorite podcasts, that is one of the key skills that so many founders do well, is just they persist. They just don't give up. And of course, like sometimes you do need to give up, right? But for me, that was like something that was just ringing every day in my head, like, just don't give up, keep doing this. And there were so many moments where I was like, I'm done. Like I cannot do it. But one step at a time, man. Yeah, there's some parts that are hard, but you can figure it out. And yeah, started to feel like things were moving, like September. So now we're, really making progress. I saw a lot of buzz around like calendars and subscriptions on Twitter, actually, and really capitalized on this moment. Like this wasn't my idea, but it fit the product perfectly. And I wanted to make sure that if I did have real customers in the future, which I was starting to get excited about as the idea, they could use something like this, because I want this for myself too. So this was cool. I didn't have like logos at the time, but I did have emojis, and it was just awesome to just see, how this could look. Now, one lesson here, which I think is really important, is this was super janky. Like throughout the whole process, I was just sharing iPhone screen recordings. I wasn't like creating the perfect design. You can see here, it's like super basic, but just the visual structure and idea of it, I think like went a long way. And I would really recommend just like, yeah, just as I did in the beginning, share basic things, talk to people, and just keep it lean. Like, don't be afraid to look stupid or cringe, because like I had to really go through that process as a designer. This is not great. And like, that's why I call it out right in the beginning. I'm like, jank, but I'm building. And yeah, just be like really relaxed about it. It's, it's not the end of the world. And this continues, everything's jank in the beginning. Like, this was literally my waitlist screen. It was just like this. I didn't even design this icon. I just screenshotted the build of the app as it stood in Xcode and then like cropped it to look like an app icon because I didn't have one. And I used that as like the main picture in MailChimp. And this is my waitlist, which I think is still up now. I should probably take that down. But yeah, this was it, man. I didn't like do anything special. I just really focused all of my time on making the product as good as I can and building all of those foundations.
Going back to the friction and momentum pendulum, you could have easily created another friction moment for yourself right here. Where it's like, if you didn't pass through the like what you call jank phase, like it would be, you would have been like, well, I'll get around to that. I'll build it. I'll publish it when it's like, when I feel good about it. And that's just such it's a self-inflicted friction point that I see
100%.
so many people make. I've made it a million times. I like have to like remind myself to just ship it and not worry about it being perfect. So it's really important to not like frictionize yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, man. Perfection will stop you from launching. And yeah, it was actually a really hard lesson, to be honest, but I would do it all over again. And yeah, like persisting through all of those like hard moments, just trying to get the thing off the floor, I started to feel like something was going somewhere. So what happened after I started sharing like screenshots and like screen recordings and starting to feel a little bit more confident that Orbit was going somewhere, I shared a lot on Twitter. I shared the waitlist. I wanted to see if I could start growing an audience. And with Twitter alone, I got it to like 60 people, which at the time was mind-blowing for me. I was like, man, 60 people actually care enough to like subscribe to this or join the waitlist, sorry. And that blew my mind. But it still wasn't like a lot. And I felt like, man, I wonder if I can kind of like grow this somehow. And I just started posting on other channels and I started posting on Threads, and I started to have a lot more engagement on Threads. And actually, the funny thing now is post-launch, I have way more engagement on Twitter than I do Threads now. So I think it also just shows that you have to try different channels. They're not going to last forever. Or like maybe I will get more engagement on Threads now, but yeah, I'm getting way more on Twitter post-launch. And just posting all these like organic things on Threads early days, it grew the waitlist from like 60 to like 3,500 in a couple of months, which was just crazy. And like I started to feel like, okay, I think people are actually like very interested in this. And it just gave me so much more confidence that I should like take it way more seriously. So yeah, it was crazy. And I remember every night just like reloading MailChimp and seeing like another 100 people are signed up and another 100 people. And I was like, just, man, it was an exciting time, but also stressful because I'm like trying to build this. I'm still in my full-time job, by the way. This whole process, I'm still in my full-time job. So trying to do this on the side was just like so much work, but I had so much fulfillment from it. And it was, yeah, just a wild, wild time. And then, yeah, like then came the point that I, was building away, building the foundations. And I think it was around maybe October, I announced that there was going to be like a test flight, and I started shipping a very basic version of it to the waitlist. I just kept it very small because obviously, like, you don't want to just like, blow it out to the whole waitlist and face so many problems and like lose that like opportunity of an audience to utilize. So launched it small, and I actually think that exclusivity like helped the organic growth and interest in Orbit. Like I launched it to like 50, 100 people, and then stayed with them for a long time because a lot of them were very open to like helping me fix the bugs and getting it right. And then once I felt good, I launched it to like, well, I just added like 50, 100 more people to the test flight. But throughout that process, like you really, as I mentioned in the beginning, you need to like take people on a journey. Once I had some confidence that there was like room for Orbit to grow, I started sharing more frequently about like how I was building, how it's going, like just talking about the test flight, for example. And yeah, I just started to share progress. I started to bring people on a journey with me. And I felt that like if anyone was interested enough to reply or give me any feedback, personally, I think this is a gift. I think like anyone taking any time out of their day to like give you feedback, you should reply to like every comment and listen to people, because you don't have to agree with everything everyone says. You know, I keep getting asked like, hey, when are you launching on Android? And I'm like, actually, I'm just going to focus on iOS for now because that's what I'm familiar with and I don't have the capacity, you know? But you should still reply to every single comment. Like, this is all a gift, and you know, you need to bring people along on your journey. But yeah, started to feel good. You can see here that this is a screenshot from Threads, and it had like 400 likes on, and this was like one of the probably earliest, I don't know if you want to call it like viral or maybe small viral, but yeah, this is like the most engagement I'd ever had so far. And I kept facing loads of bugs, had to delay the test flight, but I was being very clear with people, you know, like I'm facing problems, but don't worry, it's coming. And I started to feel this like real pull from people, which I don't know if, I don't think it's PMF, but I think it's kind of like in that realm of, if you're feeling a pull from people, you're definitely doing something which is like going down the right direction. So yeah, I wouldn't say it has PMF now, but I think like it's definitely going down that lane, which I started to get some of these signals of, you know, back then, which is really cool. Yeah, start to like grow the waitlist. At this point, it's like 2,500, which is wild, like literally blowing my brain. And I was starting to get really stressed about launching. I was like feeling like there's a lot of expectation. You know, people are messaging me. I need to get this right. And I was getting to the point where I was starting to feel really exhausted from doing my day job, which is already in like a small startup, a YC startup, which is a lot of pressure. We have a lot of work to do. And I'm building Orbit on the side, which is like, you know, something that I'm following my curiosity with, and also starting to feel confident has real opportunity. So emotionally, it was just a crazy, crazy time. And like, I wouldn't have been able to do this without like the support of my wife. So yeah, big shout out to Kivi. Back then, man, it was crazy, crazy. But again, I had this like other tiny inflection point, and it just saved me in this moment. I saw that YC was coming to London, and just a TLDR, I do not have investment from YC. It was just like a startup day, which they used to like try and you know, interest people into applying.
Mhm.
But I saw this talk from Tom Blomfield, who's a founder at one of the kind of like new challenger banks, we call them here in London, Monzo. Like, you may not have heard of it in the US, but it's huge here in London. And he talked about this story of how they launched Monzo, which is this like new fresh bank. They just started with like a prepaid card. It wasn't even a current account. But the story is they launched a product which was missing basically like 150 features to even compete with like a regular old bank account, which had been around for ages. And the reason they succeeded is because it was unique, it was fresh, it was modern, and it was like an iOS app only experience. And you got notifications when you paid for things. And they had basically had some like really high quality, simple features that Monzo as a product could just sit alongside your bank account. It wasn't like competing to replace it. And he talked about this story, and I remember it because I was here in London working in startups, and I remember Monzo coming out, and I remember like the rush of experiencing it, and it was awesome. To hear Tom talk about this story again, like, oh man, this was back in 2017 when they came out. So to hear it, like, you know, all these years later, it just like, it was so nostalgic, and it made me reflect on Orbit. And at the time, there was like 3 features I was adamant that had to be perfect and had to be part of the build before I launched. And I, you know, I had goosebumps in the audience when I was listening to talk about it, because I knew deep down that I had to like cut down some of the things I was working on to like launch Orbit like at all. You know, maybe I would have never been able to launch it if I didn't like cut these things down. So I went home, I started like drawing on my whiteboard. I was like, right, I'm getting rid of this, and I'm just going to launch with like these, you know, few features and start prepping for a launch. And it took a lot of weight off my shoulders, and it's one of the best things I've ever done in this journey so far.
I got chills listening to you just tell that story. It's so cool. This whole like journey has been so fun to hear about. It's so easy to add features, but if you think about all the things you use, there's like 1% of people that are power users of any software or any product that they use. They use 20% of the features 80% of the time.
Exactly.
And so it's like everyone thinks you need to have 100% of the features to compete, but you actually just need to have 20% of the features that they use 80% of the time and delight them in that experience that people want experiences still. Like people are they're going to crave it even more. So if you can intentionally design an experience and create like a if you know you know too, where it's like, oh, you're on Monza Bank, or oh, you
Mm,
use Orbit, just like these things that have like mini brands to a small following, I think are super powerful because people like
mm.
want to feel an experience. So I think that was an amazing like serendipitous moment for you to like see that from like a mentor or someone like you looked up to from a brand perspective and like borrow that learning from them and immediately implement it.
Dude, it was so special. I feel like so grateful it happened. And again, unplanned. I just wanted to go to YC because who's not a
Does
fan of YC? Yeah.
Yeah. Does he know about it? Does Tom Blomfield know about this?
No, no, I've never reached out to him. He's like, well, he sold, but he sold Monzo and he's now a partner at YC. So he's a big shot dude. I think he moved to the Bay
You
Area.
should reach out to him. I think that would be. I think you should reach out for sure if
Yeah,
you want
cool.
to.
I'll do that. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
dude, it doesn't hurt to send him a DM on Twitter.
Yeah.
So
I'd be
I'll
like,
do that.
yo,
I'll do
funny story. Remember when you talked at,
that.
UK 2024 Monza? Like, here's what I've been up to since that talk. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
he would be
yeah.
fired up about that, I think.
Dude, it was crazy, man. Yeah, it was so crazy. But I think another lesson there is like if you're like back in the beginning, I was talking about how I was obsessed with apps that did one thing well.
Mhm.
And I feel like that stayed true to like what I was doing with Orbit here. And the things I cut out were like little features like price history. So if you add Netflix, for example, you want to see like you want to have the ability to like add older prices you paid for Netflix to see how much you've saved. This was like really important to like the saving kind of experience in Orbit and like seeing how much money you save. But it still wasn't, super necessary to launch. And I was like stuck that, I was stuck on the fact that I was like, man, I need this for launch. But after this event, I realized actually Orbit does its like one thing well of like showing you and visualizing your spending and giving you the whole experience in a very simple list. I don't need price history to launch. And in fact, I'm glad that I didn't launch with it because I had so many comments from people after launching, like, hey, I want to add like another price and I want to see like the history of it. And that was great because actually it gave me so much more validation that people even want it in the first place. And that's another lesson is like, if you can just do the one thing well, and even if you have ideas of other things you're like adamant is important, maybe decide not to launch with it and just see if people talk about it or request it. And again, that can give you like more validation that it's worth your time.
Exactly. It'll prioritize it for you,
Exactly.
Let them build it for you and you just build it,
Yeah.
on their request.
Yeah, crazy. But so yeah, this was great. And then so went home, started crossing things off the whiteboard. I'm like, this is the proposition I'm going to launch with. So you can see this is like the 21st of December, days before Christmas. I started working on the screenshots and I mocked up like what Orbit would look like in the App Store. So this is like totally fake. You can see we've got like 250 something thousand 5 stars. That'd be nice. Don't have that yet. But I started like mocking up what the launch would look like and shared it so early to the launch. Like this is 21st of December and I launched Orbit on the 16th of Jan. And the reason is because I was actually scared of like Apple rejecting it for no reason. And I wanted to make sure that I could like hype up a date in the future where I felt I had enough time to like fix whatever they said that I would need to fix ahead of time. Thankfully, I didn't have any blockers from Apple. And that was also really nice because it just gave me some chill time to like be a little bit more relaxed and give it my best shot to launch the app, which meant just making sure that I prepped the launch email to the waitlist, which is like 3,500 people. I prepped all the messages I would send on like Twitter and stuff. And then also just thought about like all the different places I would post it, and just try to be a little bit structured, but not crazy on how I would like launch this thing. So yeah, it was quite cool. And it also gave me a little bit of downtime just to like chill, like, okay, it's like nothing's going to blow up. You're just doing something which started out following your curiosity, like, yeah, it's going to be okay. So there was a lot of emotions. And then, yeah, we launched. This was just one of the most ecstatic feelings I've ever had. Like in the past, I've obviously like shipped products and projects I've had, but I never felt that earlier in that process, I'd done something with others. Like I said, I brought everyone on this journey with me. And it just felt so electric to like ship it and tell them about it. And yeah, like I still get chills. It was just such a great time. And I'm so thankful I could go through that process. I remember when I launched, I had people message me like, hey, how do I pay for it? They were so excited to like finally pay for it, because in test flight, when you're running apps in test flight, you can't charge people. It's all just this like testing staging environment.
Right.
Yeah, once it launched, I had people reach out and they're like really excited, which I feel very, very lucky. Like I've never seen that before. And I think it's simply because I created a relationship with people. Like I took them on this journey and like made them feel like they were part of the story and journey of Orbit.
How were you managing that communication? Like, was it like waitlist, just emails, or was it like Slack group or what?
Yeah, no, at this point, it's just emails and replying to like comments or DMs.
Okay.
Really, those three. I didn't have so I've actually set up a Discord community now, and I'm keeping this like intentionally small because I just don't have the capacity to like, deal with a big one. And it's enough right now for like what I need to learn from people to make sure that the product is like being steered in the right direction. But back then, yeah, just replying to emails. And like I said before, reply to every comment. So if you get one email, reply to it as soon as you can, because those people care enough to like send you a message. You want to be turning them into like advocates, which will sell for you. And that's not like the main reason. Of course, that's great. And I hope that happens. But, you just reply to every comment because you need to build relationships with all of your early customers. And it's super important.
Yep. I love it. Were you just like storing this feedback somewhere like in a Google Sheet, or just mentally, like, or do you have a big note, or like?
Dude, I wish it was that organized. Yeah, no, after a while I was like, shit, I need to start writing this down. So yeah, afterwards I started like, I think it just in Notion.
You vibed for too long.
Yeah. I like vibed way too hard for way too long. Yeah, so sometimes the vibes have to turn into real written down things. But it's also like, you using your intuition to kind of listen to what people are saying and just judge what are they talking about the most, and like thinking about that, and you'll really start to like prioritize better. Like I knew that I'm trying to think like so far since launch I've been fixing bugs mainly, but I know exactly what people want. Right now they want widgets, iCloud support, and to like customize the icons so you can like add your own logos and other sorts of stuff. But it's really, really clear to me, it's visceral, because people have talked about it enough that I know exactly what needs to come next. And I have some semi-confidence of like what they want after that. But then I'll just focus on that then, I'm just going to stick true to like what I know people need now and like take it from there. But cool, yeah, this is so like kind of end of the story. This is like 1 week later.
So you just launched the list, and this is what happened.
Yeah, launched the list, and then I started like sharing, like I think I shared like other tweets every day, right? Just like how it's going and stuff, and like interesting things. But 1 week later, I did this like summary that you can see here, and this is what actually I had more interest from this than the first tweet. And I think the reason for that is there's simply more metrics. And because in the first tweet, I'm like, very lucky to be able to say that I tested it with 1,000 beta testers, 3,500 people on the wait list. I think that drove a lot of interest because people innately read that and they're like, whoa, okay, this isn't just a project, this is going somewhere. And then this is even stronger because not only is it less of a tweet, so it's just very directly talking about the metrics, but it also shows the product better. The screen recording was actually like way better than this like video recording, which I was using my wife's iPhone to try and record my iPhone. Like it looks okay, but this is so much clearer,
it just has all the sauce here, where it's like
all the sauce. Yeah,
there's FOMO here. It's like I launched 1 week ago. All right, everyone can visualize launching a week ago, and then the metrics are not from a week ago. They don't feel like they're from a week ago. They feel like they're from like months, especially from a new app. And then I click your profile and see you only have 2,000 something followers, and like once again, no disrespect, I have like
no, dude,
I have the exact same amount of followers. So it's like it's just cool to see that the following actually doesn't matter. Like followers don't matter that much. It's more about relationships and the story and the bringing people along and standing out. And like you got more impressions by like 10x than you have followers, and you got literally like a third of your followers to like this, number wise. So I think like anyway, it's just that juxtaposition in this tweet definitely made it pop. It's just like, what is this? And
Mm,
why is everyone downloading it? And why is everyone buying it?
mm.
But like, follow your curiosity is actually like a really good closer because I was curious about this.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
You
I
know what
love
I
that.
mean?
Yeah,
Or it's like
yeah.
that was for you. You were saying like follow your curiosity. I did this and that's how I created this. But it's like now I'm curious about this app and I'm gonna explore it. And that's how I got.
Awesome, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, I had no idea. That's amazing. Yeah, follow your curiosity. So, I just want to like talk to this a little bit. Like, so I think it's like the whole story here. Like everything I started from in the very, very beginning, I was following my curiosity. But the reason I say I'm actually trying to say this more, like, is I didn't make the idea. I don't know who probably like coined this term better than I did, or I don't know, but that's all I want to do in life. Like, I want to take Orbit further, you know, like I want to build it out, but at the end of the day, I just want to keep following my curiosity. Like, of course, there's like some business here now, but that's all I want to do because I feel most at calm, most creative, most engaged with people when I'm following my
Mhm.
curiosity. And I think this has been the most impactful thing I've ever built because I've done just that. Like, obviously, previously I was following my curiosity, but I didn't bring people on this journey with me. So that's been the key difference here.
I love it. So what's been going on since January 2025? Um,
Yeah.
how has the downloads or the revenue grown in the last month or so?
Yeah, yeah. So before we like jump into that, I just want to quickly like summarize some of those extra points. I think like just to like go back over the story, like, you know, make a basic prototype, share it, talk about the problem. I think like one thing I realized with Orbit as well, like it turns out like a lot of people feel like they need this versus it's interesting. And we've all heard that kind of like painkiller and vitamin comparison, but I
Mhm.
definitely think that rings true here. So I would really try and pay attention to that. And don't try and like judge it too hard because you could easily like talk yourself out of it and go, oh, it's just a vitamin, right? Like if it's to do with like something like money or your time or like, you know, just try and think a little bit like around, do you feel like people need this? And also, yeah, don't judge it too hard. But I would say also try and keep it super simple. Like you know, James Dyson, who created like Dyson like vacuum, he had this great quote that was like, you know, customers can barely remember one idea that you're selling them, never mind like a few or three or so. I'm like paraphrasing. I think the idea rings true. Like just make something that does like one thing well. And then as I've already mentioned, like take people on a journey and just be active with them. Um, but yeah, like where's Orbit today? So because the payment model is a one-time payment monetization model right now, the like downloads and sales have like plateaued a bit, but it is nearing $10,000, which is great. Like being 1 month out, so
Yeah.
most of that revenue and downloads came from the first week, but it's also like totally expected for launching a new product. Like
Of
most of the
course.
action will come from launch, and then it'll plateau. So I've decided to just like vibe in hard mode by going with a one-time purchase model so far, but I have like very long-term plans for introducing a subscription, which will be super helpful, obviously, to grow like the business long-term. But there are certain features which I believe will deliver like 10x value, the amount of money you're paying, that would then like make it, I would say, worthy of a subscription. Because right now I don't think it's not there. So I'm going to continue with the one-time model until I get there. But yeah, happy to like talk about that more and like what's happening in the short term.
Yeah, that's really, I mean, it's cool. Like, it's like you could say it's plateaued, but at the same time, it's like you've stayed consistent. You know, if you did like 5.5 or 6 in the first week, it's like you've done another 4. You know,
Mm,
so it's like it's at least like it's gone up, which is cool. Like you're not doing any short form video, are you?
no, and I want to, but it's
Yeah,
just time. It's just the time. So I'm still working my full-time job,
yeah,
and yeah, the plan is to definitely do SEO and short and like kind of some user generated content to try and boost those channels whilst I try and refine the ASO, the App Store optimization, throughout that process.
yeah. So we've got a workshop that we did, and you should check it out
Oh,
inside
cool.
Startup Empire. Literally about how to use and scale a UGC approach for
Oh,
an app.
yes, I need it.
And yeah, one of the members, Laurent, has gotten like 5 million plus views and like
Whoa.
30,000 plus downloads. in like a month using this
That's
strategy.
insane.
And he breaks down his whole like playbook on like, it is a lot of work because you're running like a recruitment strategy, but it does scale in a really interesting way. So like it takes the pressure off of you to like create all the content, which I don't think is like a good investment of your time, because you should like focus on like the building and the product and the relationships, and allow other people to like make short form video for you. But like, dude, this would like crush on TikTok and IG Reels, and just like so beautiful, so scrollable. Like the like day in the life creators that do like their budget breakdown for the month, they're like, here's all the money that I spent as a 24-year-old in New York City. And this was just like, they're not talking about Orbit, but they just have it in the back of like, oh, and I've got my car insurance is 400 bucks a month, and my health insurance is this. And it's like, everyone will ask in the comments, what app is that? What app is that? What app is that?
Yeah.
So you're like burying the lead, but you let the like comment section drive the downloads for you. I
That's
think
awesome.
that would be like a huge growth strategy. I think you could optimize the pop-ups and like the dark pattern kind of on here to like get people to opt in to the paid if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's like another thing to talk about. Orbit has like basically no onboarding. And there's the reason for that is because the whole journey to like launching Orbit, I had one goal, and that was to just validate for myself that people cared enough to pay. Like I had loads of like pre-validation that people would say like, oh yeah, I can't wait to pay. But until they actually pay, like you have no idea, right? Like you don't, like they might change their mind. So now that I feel like the product has potential, I can go all in on like the onboarding, like providing like a useful paywall, and doing this, like, scaling the user generated content and doing all the things that are important when you have a real, idea, which is like growing.
Yeah, totally. It's like, maybe you let them just like have 3 subscriptions for free or something.
My friend said this. It's 5 right now, and he was like, you need to do 3, dude.
Yeah. And then like it's 5. Yeah, I didn't realize it was 5 because I never was like on the free actually. But yeah, the 3 would be interesting just to get people to like, start uploading it and start using it. But the widgets idea is also quite strong. I think like the short form paired with something that's shareable, like how people share like MRR screenshots on whatever, on Twitter or social. I think if you can create some viral, like bragging element around it. I don't know if it's like money saved or just like subscriptions tracked or some beautiful chart where you can like see your spend based on like month over month. I think there's something like beautiful about that could be really cool.
Awesome.
That's not like not another feature, but just like a visualization of the current features that you have. I think those 2 things paired together would grow this thing like
that's awesome, dude.
Like a weed.
That's awesome. Appreciate that. Yeah, I've had like little to no time to think about this kind of stuff, so that's great. I'll definitely be interested.
Yeah. So yeah, check out the that workshop. But yeah, we're about to be up on time, but if we want to answer a couple of these questions, we can.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. All right. Franco asked why a spending tracker, and there's a lot of subscription trackers out there. I think we covered that with Follow Your Curiosity, but is there anything else that you would want to share from that?
Yeah, so I think finance broadly is boring and stressful. And I think that was like one of the reasons I wanted to like see if I could build something interesting in the space, is because I kind of just felt that like surely there's something more interesting, that can just like my long-term goal, which I haven't talked about, is actually to raise financial literacy, because I think a lot of people really struggle with this, and it's totally not their fault. It's just something we just don't get taught enough about. And I'm not trying to like directly fix it with Orbit, but I think it's like a cool start. And part of that is just because it's so boring. And I think it's exclusive in a way that's so boring and stressful. And I'm hoping I can make it a little bit fun.
Love it. What given the tools today, like now, if you were building this starting today, what tool stack would you use? Both from the prototyping all the way to like development.
Dude, oh man. So like you guys saw my GitHub chart. I had the idea in November 23. I really felt like I just didn't have a chance to build until like the summer of 24, which is wild. So now that all these tools exist, I would just do what I do in the beginning, start creating basic prototypes that like help you to mentally form the idea. And I would use V0, I'd use Cursor, just keep it basic, start prompting away, create something that like visualizes your idea so that you can kind of start to see some more fidelity in what that could look like. And once you feel more confident, maybe you start talking to people and you have like more confidence it could be real, you can continue with Cursor. I used Cursor and Xcode to build an iOS app, but you can create like web apps that way, or Replit. I haven't tried Replit at all, but I would definitely just like, try that, give that a go. There's Lovable. There's basically so many options, and none of them are perfect. They're all just tools. Don't get stressed about the tool. They just help you build. I think, yeah, there's so many options now, which is awesome.
Yeah, play around with with all the tools, and then just pick one, and just put the blinders on, and you can try other stuff, but you really just should pick one and rock with it. Like Bolt just launched.
Oh yeah, I need to try that.
Just launched an iOS plugin with Exo, so you can build a React app and then launch it on the App Store. People are shipping iOS apps like overnight now, so
that's
like
crazy.
I would probably start there. But also there's UiZard as well that I've played with a little bit, but it's basically like an iPhone app designer. So I think it's called UiZard or Yizard or something. I don't know how to pronounce it, but yeah, I would just try hacking away with the tools, and like you probably need Cursor or Windsurf to like actually develop it out. But yeah, if we want to, maybe we can do another session where we like build an iOS app for fun, or build like a feature, like a widget, in Bolt using like Orbit
That'd be cool.
as an example. That'd be fun. I would do that with you. So
yeah, that'd be wild. That'd be cool.
Well, cool, man. Well, thank you so much for the time and the story. I hope this was valuable to everybody, and it was super fun to hear this story and hear that, you just followed your curiosity and built a product that now is going to like impact a mission that you care about, making finance exciting and increasing literacy. So while it feels like just a little iOS app that you launched, it's a cool thing that you've been able to do, and like just pumped that we got to jam on it.
Dude, thanks for giving me the time, and thanks for being such a great, you've done so many good summaries and directed the story the whole way. I think it's epic. Yeah, hope that's helpful. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. Also happy to just jam and talk to people. So yeah, please reach out if you need to.
Yeah, Josh is in the community, so just tag the man, and we'll be seeing more of him around. And yeah, dude, thanks so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
No worries. This has been fun.
I love it. All right, guys. Talk soon.
See ya.